Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the Two Ewes of Two Ewes Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at twoewesfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our Two Ewes Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Marsha.
How are you doing?
Do I sound better?
You sound a lot better. How are you feeling with all of the bumps and bruises?
Yeah, I'm feeling, I guess, a week better. Because it's a week since we last recorded. We're getting back on schedule, so we're recording our normal time, which is a week earlier than what we would have if we were going 2 weeks between, because last time was a week late. How's that for confusing?
Yeah, we're just basically trying to get back on our schedule.
And two trains are coming toward each other at 45 miles an hour, and one leaves the station 10 minutes after the other. Yeah, sort of like that. No, I'm feeling better. My voice is better. I'm a little stronger. I have a little more stamina to stay at work longer. My knee still hurts. My foot still hurts. I'm icing still. I'm taking ibuprofen still. I'm telling myself that this is a long-term project. Yeah. This healing thing is a long-term project, and I'm not going to feel the incremental changes now from day to day. I'm going to wake up one morning and go, "Oh, wow, that feels a lot better." So, and tomorrow I go back to the podiatrist. I'll get another x-ray to see if the 2 millimeter gap between the bone that broke off, the piece of bone that broke off, and my 5th metatarsal, if that has closed in. And if it has closed in and he's happy with it, then good. And if not, then he wants to do surgery and put a little, tiny little piece of metal with hooks on either end that snugs the two bones together, is the way he described it. So everyone keep their fingers crossed. Well, by the time this gets published, I'll know one way or the other. But you can keep your fingers crossed.
Yes, I'm sending good vibes that it's healing properly.
Yes,
and I've been
eating a lot of ice cream. Actually, I haven't been eating a lot of ice cream. I had one serving of ice cream, but it was a big one. And then I've been trying to eat yogurt and cottage cheese and that kind of stuff, and lots of protein. I've been, I think I've gained weight from all this eating that I've been doing. But I tell myself,
all the eating, and I would say all the eating, but also sort of lack of activity too, because you can't do your normal walking and gardening and moving around and whatnot. So.
Oh, and speaking of walking, I'm going to change the subject to something a lot more pleasant than my medical condition. My dad, he did the Big Sur 21 miler. And, we were both going to do it together. And I had my doubts about whether he was really ready based on some of the things he said during our phone conversations about his training. But he did it, and he finished in 6 hours and 10 minutes. That's very right good. Around 6 hours and 10 minutes. Yeah.
That's good, yeah. And do you mind saying how old your dad is?
Oh, no, he's 79. He's very proud of this.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's...
He went to lunch the day before, and he was telling everybody that he was 79, and he was doing the Big Sur 21 miler the next day. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations to him. That's I hope at 79 I'm doing it.
Me too.
I mean, you hope that I'm doing it?
Yes. I do. And I'll be there on the sidelines cheering you on. No. I hope to be doing it again at some point. That's what I told the orthopedist that I went to with my knee, and he's like, "Okay, Kelly, it's been 2 weeks." Because I was like, "But I really need to do the Big Sur again."
Yeah. You have a whole year.
Yeah.
To get ready for it.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem possible to do it next year, but we'll see. Maybe.
We'll see, yeah. the body's amazing.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But my dad, my goodness, I'm just, yeah.
So, and let me ask though, how did he? Because it's one thing to complete it. That's a whole thing just to complete it, which is a cause to celebration. But the other part of it is, how did he feel after completing it?
He said he was really sore, and I was going to text him today and check in and see, has it by Wednesday? Is he now back to normal? How fast was recovery? And I didn't text him yet today, so.
Because I remember the first year I didn't really train. Not really. I just didn't even train the correct way, and I finished it with you, but I did not feel good at all because I had trained the wrong way. So.
But how long? You went home on the plane not that long afterwards, and you probably felt okay.
I went home Monday, I think.
Okay.
Didn't I go home Monday?
Maybe. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember what was really hard. Well, we completed it, but I felt terrible in my legs.
Yeah.
I remember feeling like they were just tree trunks I was flinging, because that was awful.
But anyway, my dad was successful, and
very nice.
Yeah, I'm happy that he was able to do that.
When you text him or talk to him on the phone, tell him congratulations from me.
Oh, okay. I will do that. Yeah.
I'm impressed. Yeah, tell him I'm impressed. A 79-year-old man did this, and he's now it just means I have to get back out there on the road.
Right.
I'm not walking these days.
Yeah,
so.
And we're not close to 79 yet, so.
I know.
Shame on us, right?
Yeah, shame on us, yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Okay, so what else is going on?
We have... yes.
I know what I wanted to say. Just since we're on this topic of your body and being sore, I just wanted to tell you, too, that I've been out gardening. And I think I've talked about this in the podcast before, that I'm in my flower bed reduction phase. So that I'm just putting grass back in, which I know is not politically correct in the city of Seattle. Everybody wants to have rain gardens and get rid of the grass because they don't want to mow the grass, blah, blah, blah. I'm just the opposite. I'm putting grass back because I can always find somebody to mow the lawn, but it's hard to find someone to weed, and I want to have more free time. Mm-hmm. So I'm making progress, and I've been working out there. I had to dig up 2 rhododendrons, and I came in. So I've been out there three days straight. I worked out there all day. And I worked out there yesterday, and I came in, and when I went to bed, have you ever had this thing in the middle of the night, you're laying there and you want to turn over, find another position to be in, but your body hurts so bad that you can't move?
Yeah.
I can't roll over. Are you experiencing that with your knees and your foot, right?
Yeah.
I can't roll over. It's like, it hurts too bad to roll over. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Funny.
So I've got my lawn in. I've been watering it, and I've got the seeds in. Let me say that they've not sprouted yet, but I'm watching it very carefully. So pretty soon I'll have glorious grass back in my garden.
Right. Well, and I have a suggestion, so you can. Well, you aren't going to feel guilty anyway, but. I have a suggestion for an addition to your grass once it's going. Mm-hmm. A little bit of clover seed.
Now, why the clover seed?
For the bees.
For the bees. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, for a little bit of diversity.
Okay.
So it's not
I can just go buy some.
Monoculture.
I have to go to the nursery anyway, so I'll go see if I can get some clover seed and sprinkle some around.
Yeah, and then you'll have some flowers especially in the winter, early spring, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so early spring, maybe you'll have some bee food in your lawn.
Okay. So, should we talk about project updates now?
Probably, since it's been about 15 minutes.
Okay.
We haven't talked at all about knitting.
Well, I didn't know if we wanted to...
We've missed you guys.
I know.
We had a break, and then last episode we sort of caught up, but yeah, we missed podcasting, so we're here talking about nothing.
Well, I didn't know if we wanted to talk about bees since we just mentioned bees. We'll talk about bees at the end as we normally do, and I'll talk about Enzo at the end. Okay. So, Kelly, what about your projects? Where are you?
Well, speaking of bees, I finished the bee socks, the socks out of the yarn in the colorway sunflower, but it reminds me of bees, the color of bees. So I finished those socks. I said I was going to finish them, and I did take a picture of them for the last episode's show notes. I've been wearing them. I think one of them's a little short. I think I might unpick the end and give it a few more rows and put the toe back on. But I swear they're both the same size, but maybe one of my feet is longer than the other. Or maybe it's the swelling that's making it feel a little tighter. And then I also finished that beanie that I was working on, the hat, the double knit hat. So I have 2 finished projects.
Wow.
It's been a while.
Nice. Well, you have just been lying around, so.
Not true. I have to say, there has been surprisingly little knitting time.
Really?
Considering that I'm, sitting on my rear end with my feet up in the air, icing quite a lot. It just feels like between me and everywhere and everything I want to do, there's a million steps and about a dozen heavy doors. And so I feel like I spend a lot of time looking for things. Like I want something and I go there, it's not there. Anyway, so things just take a long time. And when I think I'm going to have a lot of knitting time, by the time I finally sit down, I have about 15 minutes. It's really annoying. So, and then I set the timer, because I'm icing for 20 minutes. So by the time I set the time, get everything situated and set the timer and pick up my knitting and get going, it's really only 15 minutes of knitting before the timer goes off, and then I have to rearrange everything. Yeah, it's not as good as I thought it was going to be. I thought, oh, wow, this is going to be a really great thing. No. But I did get this hat finished.
Yeah.
It's a Double Trouble Reversible Beanie by Petite Knitter. And I did some experimenting with color changes. And then the decreases are interesting because when you get to the decreases in double knitting, you have to rearrange your stitches. So you have, instead of like every other stitch, one's in the front layer, one's in the back layer, one's in the front layer, one's in the back layer, you have to take those 4 stitches and you have to rearrange them so you have the 2 front layer stitches together and the 2 back layer stitches together. So you have to move stitches around on the needle. So it's fiddly, but it's not hard. I have to say I was really impressed with this pattern because I had already learned double knitting, but she has a little photo tutorial of double knitting in the pattern. She has a little photo tutorial of the decreases in the pattern. I don't think she has a photo tutorial of the invisible cast on. I think I had to go onto YouTube for that. I can't remember now. Maybe she does have a photo tutorial. I don't have the pattern right here with me, so I'm not positive. But there's an invisible cast on that you do that gets you, both sets of stitches on the needle in a really in a nice way that looks like they're Kitchenered together. So when you look at the bottom, you can't tell. There's no ridge. You know how when you do a cast on with just one color and one layer, you have the little ridge. So there's no ridge at the bottom. The 2 layers just look like they're Kitchenered together. So I'm really happy with it. It's a great pattern. I'm going to do it again because I need the practice. My inside layer, because that's the layer you purl, my inside layer has tension issues. It's more, I think it's a looser gauge than my outer layer. So it sort of looks, when you turn it inside out, it kind of looks bubbly.
Oh, right, because you knit this cap in the round, right? But your blanket will be knit back and forth, right?
Oh, I didn't think about that. So when in the blanket, I'll be half knitting and half purling on both sides. I won't have one whole side that's always been being knit and the other whole side that's always... That's good to know. I didn't think about that. I was worried. Now I don't have to worry so much because it'll even out.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes. No, thank you. That's really good. Because I was like, oh my gosh, now I have to really work on this tension issue. But I don't actually because I'll be knitting out, across. Right? Well, I'll be going across on what's the right side, and the front stitches will be knit and the back layer stitches will be purled. And then when I turn around and go back, then the back layer stitches will be knit and the other stitches will be purled.
Right.
So it will even out. Oh, that's really nice. Thank you, Marsha. I feel better already.
Well, you can still knit another hat. You can knit another hat if you want.
And I think the next hat I'm going to do won't have color work, and I think I might use my hand spun and use like a rougher one for the outer layer and not have it really be reversible. Use maybe a rougher one that I wouldn't want to put next to my head for the outer layer, and then a softer one for the inner layer. I don't know. I still am intrigued by the idea of doing, I think I mentioned this in the last episode, by the idea of doing a pair of socks, one inside the other. Did I mention this before?
Yes, you did mention this, but what I can't understand, though, is... So I understand, like, if you do double knit a pair of socks, right, then they'll separate. I get that, because there's nothing attaching them.
Right, as long as I don't cast them on in a way that attaches them, yeah.
Right. So, and I understand, like, your hat, because you changed the pattern was... There was color changes. There was color work. Color changes. So I realized the color changes is where it attaches. And the same thing with your bee blanket is when you do that, where the color changes, it'll be attached. So if you do socks, there's no color work. So you'll be able to separate the layers, correct? So if you were to do a hat with a double knit hat, what I'm thinking with you were talking about doing like the rough layer and the inside layer would be the soft layer. I was also thinking if you did a hat where the outside layer was a solid and the inside layer was, painted,
some kind of patterned yarn or variegated.
Some kind of pattern yarn, but there's no color changes. How would you keep the inside in the hat?
Oh,
or would you have to attach it various places?
You would you could. When it's not on your head, you could pull it apart. And so you'd have like a lining that's not attached at all, except at the very bottom of the hat.
Oh, and so, but then when you put it on your head, it'll just, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah. And the sort of bubbling that I was getting with this hat is because I have color work. And so the color work is attaching it at places, but between those attachments, it's one gauge on one side and a larger gauge on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah. It's fascinating. It really is fascinating. And I am going to if I can get into the extreme double knitting class, if they have it at Stitches West, I'm going to take an extreme double knitting class next.
That's really what it's called?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
I want to say Alistair Quinn? Something like that is the guy who teaches it. But he's the magician of double knitting. And then also double knitting videos by the sock magician. He does a lot of double knitting too.
Okay.
So, but yeah. Oh, I'm more ready than I thought because the gauge issue is not really an issue. That's super good to know.
What else are you working on?
Oh, so I just recently started something because when you're totally overwhelmed by the amount of catching up you have to do at work, and you only have 3 weeks of school left, and piles of papers that didn't get graded over the last 3 weeks, of course you need to make a new project. You need to start something new. So I started it's called Assam by Laura Chau, and it's a side-to-side cardigan. And so you start by knitting the sleeve cuff, and then you do increases. So it's knit flat, totally flat. So you start by knitting the sleeve cuff, and then you do increases all the way up the arm, so the flat sleeve gets wider. And then when you get to the body, you do a bunch of cast on stitches. So now you have the back and the front coming off of the sleeve. So it's like a flat sweater. And in the end, so in case that's not enough information, it's flat, and then what you're going to do is you're going to seam it. You're going to seam it, like fold it together. You're going to fold it and then seam the sleeve up to the armpit, and then from the armpit down the side. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've gotten all the way on the sleeve, and I've started the body. And the body has this like faux raglan line that you make, which is cool. And it's not really a raglan, but it's a kind of a diagonal line that goes up your edge of your sleeve as you make the body. So it's a side-to-side sweater, and this yarn that I'm using, it's called Sockotta, and it's a variegated yarn, so it's making stripes. So the stripes will be vertical.
Okay.
I mean, they're going around the arm, right, as you go. But once you get to the body, since you're knitting it sideways, the stripes, the striping of the variegation will be vertical instead of horizontal.
Yeah, it's a nice, cute sweater.
Yeah, I think so.
Super cute.
And here's the story about this yarn. Marsha knows this story already, but you all need to hear about it. So about 10 years ago, I was going to make socks for a friend, and I bought a couple of skeins of Sockotta at Stitches. Maybe I only bought one skein. Anyway, I was making the socks. They were a pair of Lucy Neatby socks they're called Almost Holy or something like that. Anyway, they have you do this thing that makes big giant holes in the socks, on the leg of the socks. So not like yarn overs, but I don't know how to describe it. I don't remember what the stitch pattern was, but they're actually like round circle holes in the leg of the sock. So I made those socks. They were really fun to make. Gave them away as a gift. But as I was making them, I started to get afraid that I was going to run out of yarn. So I went online, seeing if I could find more Sockotta. And it's a cotton 50-50, almost 50-50 cotton and merino wool yarn. Variegated. It's pink and sort of a pale purpley color, pink, orange, and yellow. So I go online to find more yarn because I think I'm going to run out. And I find a bag of it. A whole bag of it at, I don't know, Webb's or Discount name brand yarn, or some place that had a good sale for an entire bag of Sockotta. So you know what I did, right?
You had to buy that whole bag. I know how we both are about a bag of yarn.
A bag of yarn on sale. So I bought the whole bag. Turns out I never needed any extra. I had plenty to finish the pair of socks. So then I had an entire bag of Sockotta. So I gave you some. And I kept some.
Yeah.
You tried to make a shawl out of it, but abandoned the plan and used something else. I've tried several things over the years, like made plans to do several things, but haven't managed. Finally made a swatch of the yarn held double, and it didn't work for the sweater that I was hoping to do it with. But then I went on Ravelry and I did an advanced pattern search using the gauge of my yarn, of my swatch with the yarn held double. Found this pattern. Okay, good. So then I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, I forgot when you're holding the yarn double, you need double the yardage. So the amount I have is not enough for this sweater. But if I get back the 2 skeins that I gave to you, I have like 40 yards more than I need. Which
40 yards, if I give you back what you need, you'll have only 40 yards left. I mean,
I'll have 40
yards. I guess 40 yards is not that close. That feels close to me, but
it does to me too. So here's what I did. I went on Ravelry, and I have now identified 5 people who have this Sockotta yarn in their stash for sale or trade. And so I'm debating whether I should try to buy another skein. It's only $7. I mean, they want $7 plus shipping. it's not an expensive yarn to begin with, and then they're not selling it for very much. But how ironic. I bought one skein to make a pair of socks. And then I ended up with a bag of it so that I could make the socks work, turning out not to need it. And now I might buy yet another skein of this yarn I didn't want in the first place.
So because I'm going to send you the 2 skeins that I have, but please. Even you'll still need to buy one more probably.
I don't know. I think I'm going to wait. I'm not going to pull the trigger on buying it until I find out if I really need to, because really I do not want another skein of Sockotta in my stash that I didn't need. I've been trying to get rid of this yarn for 10 years. So yeah. And, I mean, it's not my colors at all. Pink and orange and yellow. Looks like, like rainbow sherbet kind of.
Yeah, it does look like rainbow sherbet. Yeah. I was going to say a sunset, but rainbow sherbet is actually more accurate.
Okay, so tequila sunrise, you could say.
Tequila sunrise, yeah.
If you want it to be a little more adult than rainbow sherbet. But, yeah, it's...
But it's more rainbow sherbet than tequila sunrise.
I know. So, anyway, I'm... I have the very strong possibility that I will be buying yet another skein of this yarn I don't want to finish this sweater. But
well, think about it this way. That's old yarn. So the person that you might potentially be buying it from, they've had it in their stash for 10 years too, probably. Yeah. And you'd be helping them out because they're thank goodness I'm finally getting rid of this yarn.
I will be. And I'm guessing that if I contacted, if the 5 people who have it, for sale or trade in their stash are like no longer on Ravelry or don't answer my message or whatever, I'm willing to bet you that at least 20 of the other people who have it in their stash would probably be willing to get rid of it if someone contacted them. Yeah. So I have a good chance of being able to find this yarn if I need it. Yeah. Yeah. What silliness.
I know.
But it's a cute sweater, and it'll be a nice spring. It'll be a nice spring sweater, so.
And, the thing is about the color, we've been sort of laughing about the color and that you don't normally wear it. But that doesn't mean you won't wear it. You may actually get it done and realize that you really like it, and it goes with a lot of things. And,
yeah. I don't think of myself as... I certainly don't like yellow. And I usually don't wear yellow or orange, but I wear a lot of pink. I do wear a lot of pink. I don't think of myself as a pink person, but I wear a lot of pink. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It's kept me entertained, which is a good thing. So, what about you?
I have only been knitting on one project, and that's the Cobblestone sweater for my brother. And I think 2 days ago, I finished the second sleeve, and I attached them to the body, and now I'm working on the yoke. And I have done, I don't know, probably 3 inches of the yoke.
Okay.
And it's interesting. So I've talked about this before, but it's the bottom up, knit the sleeves separately, attach them to the body, and then do the yoke. And I remember another sweater I did the same technique. And you actually have then under, between the sleeve and the body, there's 14 stitches that there's a big hole that I will go back and do the Kitchener stitch. But it's interesting. The yoke is then formed with short rows. So it was a series of 3 different short rows. I think there's 12 stitches, then 8 stitches, and then 4 stitches, from the marker where you mark it. So coming in from the side, sort of from I guess sort of like where you would have a raglan sleeve, probably sort of in that general area of the yoke. And then this was interesting too, as I was, now I'm just going line by line, and I get to things as now you all the way across the row, you knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 3, knit 2 together, all the way around. So you're reducing the size of the yoke in a sense by 25%, I guess.
So fast, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting to me. And now I am just doing, it says just to knit, it's garter stitch. So I'm, alternating, it's in the round, so I'm alternating a knit round and a purl round. And I do that till it measures 5 inches, and then I do another decrease round, measure, and then knit the, alternating knit and purl till it's 7 inches, and then another decrease round, and then I get to the end and I do another bit of short row, or I do some more short rows too. So it's sort of interesting how this whole thing is shaped. Mm-hmm. And
and it would be shaped totally differently if it was a yoke for a women's sweater, I think.
Probably.
Yeah, interesting.
So I have to admit, I didn't really fully read all the way ahead in this pattern. I just started, but then every so often I think, maybe I actually should read that pattern all the way through to the end, which I did. And so the bind off, I've never heard of this. It's the Elizabeth Zimmerman's method, a sewn bind off. Oh. Have you ever heard of that?
I have heard of it.
It says,
and I'm wondering if it's similar to the Kitchener bind off that I did.
Oh, okay.
With the 1x1 rib on my sweater. But go ahead, I want to hear.
Well, it says this method of binding off uses a tapestry needle and a long yarn tail. It is our preferred method when a highly elastic bind off edge is needed. And so there's step 1, slip the tip of your tapestry needle through the first 2 stitches on the left needle as if to purl and pull the yarn through, leaving these 2 stitches on the left needle. Step 2, place the tip of the tapestry needle through the first stitch on the left needle, knitwise, and slip this stitch off the needle. Pull the yarn through. 1 stitch has been bound off.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not the same, because the one I did was it was 1x1 ribbing, and you put all the purl stitches on one needle and all the knit stitches on another needle, and then you Kitchenered them.
Oh,
Maybe it amounts to the same thing in the end. I can't picture it.
I can't picture it either.
But is it a 1x1 rib?
No. Okay. It's going to be, let's see, I'm finishing, since it's just a garter stitch.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming I'm finishing with a knit row.
Okay.
I
know that Christy,
I'm finishing with a knit row.
Christy, who used to have the Chris Loves Wool on Ravelry, who used to have the in the Snip podcast, she always used the sewn bind off.
Okay.
She liked it a lot. That's why I know about it. I mean, that's why I actually heard of it. I didn't know how you do it, but I knew it existed.
So I'm going to have to watch a YouTube tutorial about this. So
but it does sound a lot like Kitchener stitch. Mm-hmm. It's like you're Kitchenering. I don't know. I'll have to look at it.
Well, and I wonder if it's again, they say it's a nice stretchy bind off, apparently what you want, but I also wonder if it's
for
going
a neck.
Yeah, I'm also wondering if it has a certain look that it will look good with this garter stitch yoke. Like some bind offs look good and some don't look good, and I'm wondering, like if it's going to go in a seam, then it doesn't matter. But if it's going to be a neck edging, I wonder if this is going to have a particular look about it that makes the neck edge look more finished. I don't know. We'll see. I'll report back in 2 weeks, because hopefully I'll be at that point in 2 weeks.
Cool.
But that's all I have for projects. I haven't picked up my socks.
You've been super monogamous, but you're trying to get it done before Mark goes to London.
Yeah, I sort of set a goal, and and then I leave May 24th for Scotland. And so the other thing, and of course this is anytime we travel, right? What do you think of before you even think about your clothes?
What are you going to pack to knit?
Yes. No, the first thing I think is, what am I going to pack to knit, and what shoes am I bringing? Those are the 2 big things.
If it's a work trip where I'm going to be doing unpleasant things or things that are hard, like, socializing with people I don't know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then
I thought you were going to say people you don't like. I thought you were going to say.
No. No, with people I don't know, who I might end up liking once I know them. And then it wouldn't be hard at all to socialize with them. But if I have to do stuff like that, a lot of times the other thing I think about is what do I want to, what talisman knitting do I want to bring, What do I want to bring as my, like, Wonder Woman shield, or so I can feel like I'm able to do that stuff.
Well, we're part of this trip. We're going to be at a retreat. So I was sort of like, I kind of like to work on a sweater.
You want to show off something, yeah.
Yeah, well, I have to. Well, and then the other dilemma is what do I bring? Because I'm going to a knitting retreat, so you want to show off your knitwear, but I don't want to pack all my knitwear, so because sometimes it's bulky. So I think people will understand if I only bring one sweater, but I don't really want to pack a sweater quantity's worth of yarn to knit on and pack that all around. But at the same time, when I'm sitting at the retreat for a period of time, I would like to work on a sweater. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, you could buy a sweater quantity while you're there. Then you wouldn't have to pack it.
I do not need to buy a sweater quantity's worth of yarn.
I know. That's why I said it, because I was being funny.
I do not need to buy a sweater quantity's worth anyway. So that's why I've been thinking a lot about that. And one of the sweaters that do you remember I bought the, I think the first year I went on the local yarn crawl here in the Seattle area, and over at Tolt, I bought the 13-mile wool and kind of a sage green. Yeah, and I want to make that snow flower. It's a color work.
Oh yeah,
sweater.
You talked about that for several episodes in there.
Yes, I've talked about it, and because do you remember I ordered a skein of just the plain yarn, the blank yarn to dye, and then there was a discussion that it was not enough, so I ordered a second one. So I have 2 extra skeins of just the blank color that I just keep it the natural color for the stars, the snowflakes kind of, but I would then dye the other. And the other day I was thinking, I kind of got in this mood to dye. So I might, that's something I might do, dye that before I go. I'm not doing that. I'm leaving May 24th. This is May 1st.
Is a sweater top down?
It's that one is interesting. I believe that is Heidi Kermeyer again, and that's you do a provisional cast on for the yoke, and you knit the colorwork yoke up to the neck. Then you pick up the provisional cast on and knit down.
Okay, no, that's not good retreat knitting.
No,
I'll just tell you that right now.
Well, and actually, you know what? What I'm going to bring is my T-shirt that I've been working on, that Lace Market by I believe it's Marie Green. I'm going to bring that to work on because that's technically a sweater, but
and if you finish it, you could actually wear it.
I know, that's true.
I mean, I don't know. Is it warm enough in that part of the world at this point in time?
I don't know. When we were there before, it was March and it snowed. It was very cold. I've been looking at the weather. Inverness was 58, I think, today or yesterday. So it's not going to be bitterly cold. It's not going to be, flip-flops and shorts weather either. I don't know that Scotland ever. I don't think Scotland ever is shorts and flip-flops.
You'll have to ask Louise.
Yes.
Louise, if you're listening, do you ever wear flip-flops and shorts?
Do they even sell flip-flops in Scotland? Do they even know what they are?
in the northern reaches of Caithness. Yeah.
So, I don't know what the weather will be like. I think it'll be sort of like Seattle is right now, which is, we're having highs of 58 and sunny weather. So we'll see. If I
won't talk about our weather.
Oh.
Nobody wants to hear me whine.
No, we don't want to hear you whine about it.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So I finished some projects, and you've been really monogamous. Anything else? Knitting, planning, or... Oh, how about the knot along? Marsha, do you have any plans for that?
Yes, I do, because I said the last episode, I said I had a plan. And so my plan is, I was inspired by the demonstration at the Knockers Retreat for making the beeswax wraps. So, and to remind people, that's where you take cotton fabric and you impregnate it with beeswax and pine resin and I think jojoba oil, and then those become environmentally friendly food wraps. You can wrap, and I posted a video in the show notes last episode. So I'm going to make those.
Cool.
It's fibery, right?
Yeah, it's the way I see it. It's similar to sewing, right?
Yeah,
it's using fabric. Yeah. So,
and I have a lot
that fits.
Yeah, and I decided I want to do something kind of simple because I have a lot going on in terms of projects.
Because I'm making you do this.
You're making me do this knot along, and against my will. No, I have a lot of projects, home projects that I have to take care of, and I'm going to be gone in Scotland for 2.5 weeks, and I couldn't wrap my head around learning some new technique, like something new.
Some new needlework
thing, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think
Tatting
that's
or something.
a really good idea.
So I'm going to do that. And then I also decided to throw in there another project. And I'm just going to give a little bit of background. Kelly and I remember we had talked about this. And I said, I don't want to talk about it because it sounds so kind of snobbish or something. And now people are wondering what I'm talking about. So anyway, I need drapes for my living room, and my brother and I were looking at drapes online and looking at used drapes. And I know that sounds really weird, but I found a pair of drapes that I wanted on eBay, and so I purchased them. And this is a long, complicated story. I'm going to make it really short. I'll try and make it really short. So I found these drapes. They're actually in France. And they're beautiful. They're linen, and then they're all embroidered with wool, crewel work, all these very stylized flowers. They're very sort of arts and crafts looking, probably, I would say.
That sounds...
And they're beautiful, and they're lined, not interlined, but they're lined. So I bought these drapes, and then the tragedy happened when I went to pick them up. They were delivered to the post office, and I got a notice to go down and pick them up. I go down to pick them up. They're soaking wet. The whole box is soaked. And I actually ordered 2 sets. I got the linen with the crewel, and I also got a cotton plaid drapes for the bedroom. They're soaked. Like, I took the box completely disintegrated, and somebody at some point had taken that clear plastic wrap that you wrap around a pallet of goods to keep everything on the pallet. Someone had taken that and wrapped it around the box to keep the box together. And so I bring the box home and open it up, and there's literally water runs out of the drapes.
Oh my gosh.
And they've been sitting it had been about 3 weeks from the time I ordered them or maybe longer than that, almost 4 weeks from the time I ordered.
I remember it was in the middle of that, it was kind of in the middle of that snowstorm you guys had.
Right. But they had been sitting so long wet, they had begun to mildew. So there's stains from the cardboard box because the shipper had just put the drapes in a cardboard box instead of putting them in plastic first, which they probably should have done in hindsight. Just put them in the cardboard box. So that wet cardboard box stained the fabric. And then there was mildew, all these little green spots of mildew all over the linen ones. The cotton ones had some, but they were in better shape than... So I emailed her, and she was very upset because she had sent me a picture of the box, and it was perfect when she sent it. And I don't know what happened, because this box must have sat someplace in the rain, or it almost feels like they had dumped it in a lake or something, because it was so soaked with water. I don't know. I don't really.
The delivery plane crashed in the lake.
Yes, it crashed in the middle of the Atlantic or something. Because I don't know anything about shipping, but I just can't imagine that boxes would be sitting outside for extended periods of time. They would be, they'd go from the person would drop them off at the shipper, and the shipper would transport them by truck to a warehouse, and then to a plane, and then
something horrible and mysterious happened.
Something horrible and mysterious happened to these things. And at that point, I didn't even really care what had happened. I just wanted to get them clean. So in town, if people who live in the Seattle area, if you ever have anything like this happen, there's a company called Emmanuel's Rug and Upholstery Cleaning, and they do mending, so they're really good. And so they were the first people I could think of to call. I didn't know if they could clean the drapes or not, but they said, bring them down, we'll take a look, and they cleaned them. They came out, there's still some residual staining from the mildew and the cardboard, but way better than they looked before. I mean, they're usable.
Yeah.
If you're a perfectionist, you wouldn't use them, but I'm not that much a perfectionist, and I think when they're hanging up and they're gathered up, you won't see all of this. So now we've gone out to, there's a drapery company here in Seattle that they actually make drapes. And so we went out, my brother and I went out last week, I think, to get an estimate to have the drapes now rebuilt to fit the windows. And so we're going to have them. If people are interested in this kind of thing, I don't want to bore people, but it is interesting about drapes, and also that my brother, because having been in the design field, he knows a lot about drapes, and I'm going to have Normally drapes just have the fabric that you see towards the room side, and then they'll have a lining. But these were actually going to have an inner lining. So it's this thick, it's almost like a felt material, but it's wool that you put, and then there'll be then I believe that's called the inner lining, and then the lining is what you would see will go against the window side. So, and it will do a much better job of keeping heat, hot days, keeping heat out. Insulate the house, and then also light, blocking out light.
Insulating with felt. What a concept.
Yes.
With wool.
So,
felt.
and I picked so when they're done, I'll take a picture and show everybody, because we're going to have this sounds weird, but we're going to have a blue and white check lining that you'll see from the window side, and then it's just like a white inner lining, this felt material, and then the pattern crewel on the room side. The plaid ones that go in the bedroom, we don't have to touch at all. We can just hang those up. So how does this relate to my knot along?
Yes, how, Marsha? What is the part of this that you're going to do?
To save money, I'm going to take the drapes apart. And they're very interesting. I will take a picture of this to post too before I take it apart. But the top band, there's an entire row of pleats that go across these crewel drapes. And it's interesting. What they've done is they've sewn a tape on there that has, I believe, 2 or 3 cords on it that you pull. And that's what makes it gather. And then if you want to clean them, you pull it apart. You can clean it, press it, and then re-pull that string to make it fit. We're going to do it a little bit differently. So I have to remove that tape that's on there with that pull string on it. And I have to take all the seams apart and the hem and everything apart, deconstruct the whole thing, take the lining out, because we're going to toss the lining and put a new lining in.
So it'll basically be a fabric. You're taking it from drapes back to fabric.
Yeah, to fabric panels. So, and again, I'm doing that because it is kind of pricey. So anything because if you're paid by the hour to do this, and they have to get a seam ripper to take all that apart, I can do that. My hourly rate is a lot less than their. I have no hourly rate.
Yeah.
I can do it. So, and I thought even those Saturday night dinner parties at the house. I'm going to put those people to work, get everybody a seam ripper, and they can get to work.
Okay, I want to see a picture of that.
Yeah. So I got to get to work taking pictures of all of this. So anyway, but it's kind of funny how I don't want to tell people that I ordered draperies from France. I'm middle class enough that sounds, what's the word I want, Kelly? It sounds kind of snooty. Yes, it sounds snooty.
Yes, my draperies came from France.
Yes.
Via eBay.
Yeah, eBay. So, so I hope I don't sound snooty. I just thought they were so beautiful.
It's so interesting. I would have never thought to look for drapes on eBay.
That's because you don't have Mark as your brother.
I know. No, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Or the Godfather. See, but the thing is, be careful, Kelly, what you talk to him about, because
Mark has been the godfather to this house in so many ways that I don't want to entice him to do any more. He's done so much already.
Yeah. So that's the saga of the drapes.
That's very cool.
And so that's what I'm going to work on taking that apart. Okay. So anyway.
Sounds great. I know what I'm doing. I'm doing punch needle rug hooking. And maybe some other things, since it will be my summer vacation. And that means I have permission to try all kinds of interesting projects.
And you'll have time.
Yeah, I definitely will have time to play around, so I'll do some interesting stuff. Punch needle rug hooking for sure. Maybe some other things. We'll see. All right. Well, that brings us to, I have a recommendation.
Okay.
My recommendation is for people to make some kind of bee watering hole. So that could be a bird bath that has maybe some, a couple of big rocks in it so the bees can stand on the rock and go get the water. Okay. Or it could be a tray. You have to refill this a lot, but it could be a tray for a clay pot with some rocks in it that you refill. I mean, because that evaporates fast. I have to refill mine daily. Or it could be, I have also, one of my bee waterers is the old insides to a crock pot. so the ceramic insides. And in the crock pot, I have a couple of bricks and some rocks and some sticks, and then I just fill it with water. The dirtier and algae filled, the better. The bees are not purists wanting clean water. So anyway, those are some ideas for providing water for bees. I have also seen a bee hotel for native pollinators. Somebody saw one at Costco even, and texted me a picture of it at their local big box Costco store. But there's lots of links online for how you can do that. And then the other thing, if you aren't able to do either of those things, or if sort of in order of difficulty, providing water is the easiest. Providing a bee hotel is like the next easiest. And then the one that is really helpful is to plant trees. And there's, I'll provide a list of the different trees that bees really like, but it kind of depends on your area, and it's not just honeybees, but native pollinators. So, they use, if you think about a tree, has a lot more blossoms than a plant. You can get a lot more bang for your buck with a tree. So, it's a vote for the future, right? To plant a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
And clover. Throw some clover seeds on your lawn.
Throw some clover seeds on your lawn. Yeah, that's another good one. So those are my recommendations.
Okay. I don't have a recommendation this week. Okay. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Well, I'm going to give an update on Enzo.
Okay, yeah.
So I went last Friday at noon. We have our agility class. And then I go back in the evening for... they call it Agility League. It's like an 8-week thing. And so I went to class last week. He was fantastic. We were doing wraps where you have to send them on the other side of the jump, and then they have to come towards you and jump. And he was doing it on the jumps. He was going through tires. Everything was great. He was doing fantastic. And then I'm like super excited now to go to the league, where what they do is they set the course up. We don't know what it's going to be until we get there. And then we have to... They explain how the course is going to be. We walk the course, and then they go in order of size of dog. So the small dogs go first, and then, anyway, Enzo goes last. And it was like he had never been to an agility class in his life. It was the funniest thing. I'm like, okay, so what is going on with him? And I think it's just, so this was our second time, and he was not quite so discombobulated the week prior. But I think, Kelly, you and I talked about this. I think in class, there's 2 of us, 2 dogs and 2 handlers, or at the most there's 4. And this suddenly now there's 6 or 8 dogs. They're not in where all the equipment is. All the dogs are sort of in the waiting area. There's like a little knee wall that they're on one side of it. They have treats for the adults, which is wine and beer and popcorn. And I realized that I did not know this, but Enzo's a bit of a popcorn fanatic, because that popcorn, he went kind of crazy over the popcorn and the smell of it, and then I just think it was also different. He's suddenly now just on his own in the rink, and then the other thing, which is really good if you're going to do this competitively, is you have all these people laughing and cheering him on, and then just laughing when makes mistakes. But it could have been also, too, he was tired because he had agility at noon. We'd gone for a walk, and now he'd had dinner. And so he was kind of hanging out sleeping when it's time now to get in the car and go over to the agility. And but the funniest thing is he loves the teeter-totter. But I realized, and this one, he would go halfway up the teeter-totter and then jump off. And I realized, I think what was going on is that Cheryl, the trainer, to encourage him to go on the teeter-totter, she always puts treats on there, and she has really good treats compared to what I have. And this time there's no treats, so I think he went halfway up the teeter-totter, realized there's no treats, I'm not staying on this thing, and jumped right off,
There's no treats here.
But it was the funniest thing. I could not stop laughing because he was acting like he had never been to an agility class in his life, and he was all over the place. And I was just completely baffled and confused by it. And he was baffled and confused by what he was supposed to do. And I was completely baffled and confused by my dog.
Oh, my gosh. Well, they keep you humble.
I know they do. But it was so funny. But we're not giving up. We're going to keep going.
Oh yeah.
He's got to learn. And I think, the other thing I would say, I'm now used to class. I didn't know really what was going to happen at this, and the course was different, and it was confusing to me. And so, I think he, if I'm confused, then he's confused, because they just follow us. Right. They do what we tell them to do. And so if we're not, if I'm not giving him clear instructions, then he's not going to do what I want him to do, because he doesn't understand.
Right. Yeah. So you weren't giving him clear instructions, but the popcorn was giving him clear instructions.
Yes. It was fogging up it was getting, everything is very unclear.
Wait, they're all having popcorn over there, and I'm doing this. What?
It reminded me of, I think I talked about this in the podcast, when on New Year's Eve, our friend Marilyn came over for dinner, and she walked into the house with a tray of salami, and he went crazy. And that's when we caught him, stealing the salami. And
he never does that, but you don't have anything
he
good
never
enough.
Does that. But I never have salami in the house, and I never have popcorn. I mean, they're not my thing. Yeah. And I realize he's got a thing for it. So... Super funny. Yeah. That's it, I think.
Yeah, except that we just want to let people know we're going to put up a Ravelry thread. That we really run out of stuff to talk about.
Clearly we don't.
Yeah, we don't run out of things to talk about. But maybe you would like us to talk about something different. Maybe there's something you would prefer us to talk about than the things that we go on and on about. So I'm going to put up a thread in the Ravelry group asking if anyone has a topic that they want us to cover on the show. Mm-hmm. And then and
we'll do our best to talk about it, yeah.
We can have a sort of some input from all of you about what you'd like to hear about. In case Enzo's popcorn addiction and my broken foot
are getting boring.
Right.
How much can we talk about dogs and popcorn, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And broken feet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So head on over to the Ravelry group, and if you have something you'd like to hear about on the show, let us know.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I'm interested to see if people have some topics they'd like us to discuss. So, all right, Kelly. I think that's everything.
Yes. Okay, Marsha.
We will talk.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2ewesfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 Ewes
doing our part for World Fleece.